Hello guys, welcome back to Chunda DIY, and today's video I'll be showing you how to crochet an off-shoulder cardigan. It is really easy pattern and friendly for beginners. For this stitches pattern I use only slip stitch and single crochet stitch, and you just make 4 rows and repeat. And for this cardigan, it's so simple. It just make out of 4 panels and attach them together. Then you will got a cute full off-shoulder cardigan. And for this cardigan, I make for size small. But in this video, I also showing you how to make it bigger for any size and how to measuring it on your body. Okay, now let's get started. And this is the measurement of my cardigan. We have 4 panels, the body panel, the sleeves, and the shoulder panel. First, I'm going to start with the body panel. To begin, make a slip knot. And chain 84. It is equal 14 inches length. So for this pattern, we are working on the length way. For the number of the foundation chains, it's the height of the cardigan. If you guys want your cardigan more longer, please add more chains. Just remember, for the number of your foundation chains must be the even number. And for the short foundation chains or the pink yarn, it is just a sample showing you how to making the stitches. Like I said, if you guys want your cardigan more longer, just add more chains. After you got 84 chains for this foundation chains, it measuring from the underarm until it reach my hip. I recommend you guys to make the foundation chains longer than your desired fit, because after you making the stitches, the length of this crochet piece will shorter than the length of your foundation chains. And next, we are going to make the moss stitch. For row 1, skip 1 chain and make single crochet into the second chain. To make single crochet, insert the hook into the loop, yarn over and pull up a loop. And now you have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through all 2 loops. After you have made a single crochet, then chain 1, then skip 1 chain and make single crochet into the next chain. Keep repeating this by chain 1, skip 1 chain, and make single crochet into the next chain until you reach the end of the row. Then I will meet you back again. And after you reach the end of the row, you must end with a single crochet. And this is what the first row looks like. And next, for row 2, chain 1. For chain 1, we don't count as a stitch. Then turn your work. Then make 1 more chain. Remember, for your second chain, you have to make it a little bit loose. And next, skip single crochet stitch, then make single crochet into the chain 1 space. After you have made single crochet into chain 1 space, don't forget to use stitch marker to mark at this second chain, because this chain also counts as a stitch. Then chain 1, skip single crochet stitch and make single crochet into the chain 1 space. Keep repeating this until you reach the last single crochet stitch, then I will meet you back again. And after you have one last single crochet stitch, then make single crochet into that stitch. And now for your second row, you must end with 2 single crochet stitches. And this is what the second row looks like. After you have made the moss stitch, and next we are going to make the slip stitch back loop only. For row 3, chain 1 we don't count as a stitch. Then turn your work. As you can see the V shape here, we have 2 loops, so we have to working the stitch into the back loop only. To make slip stitch, pull the yarn a little bit loose and then continue insert the hook into the back loop. Yarn over and pull through all the loops. Please use stitch marker to mark at this first stitch so you will not miss it. Remember, for making the slip stitch row, you have to make the stitch a little bit loose by pull the yarn a little bit longer and then insert the hook into the back loop, yarn over and pull through all the loops. Keep making slip stitch back loop only into every stitch until the end of the row. Then I will meet you back again. Don't forget to make slip stitch back loop only into the stitch where we mark. After you reach the end of the row, and this is what the third row looks like. It looks curved, but it's okay, you can stretch it a little bit to give a nice and straight row. The reason why it curved, because I made slip stitch not really loose. So remember, for slip stitch row, you have to make it loose. Next, for row 4, please repeat row 3 by chain 1, turn your work. And we are going to make slip stitch back loop only into every stitch until the end of the row. And after you reach the end of the row, and this is what the fourth row looks like. For this pattern, we are going to make 2 rows of the moss stitch and 2 rows of the slip stitch back loop only. So after you have made slip stitch back loop only for 2 rows, then we are going to start working on the moss stitch again. For row 5, chain 1, turn your work, then make single crochet into the stitch near chain 1. Remember, for the March stitch, we are going to working the stitch into both loops. It means that you have to insert the hook into both loops. After you have made single crochet, then chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and make single crochet into the next stitch. Keep repeating this by chain 1, skip 1 stitch, and make single crochet into the next stitch until you reach the end of the row. Then we meet you back again. And after you reach the end of the row, and this is what it looks like. Next, for row 6, chain 1, turn your work, then make 1 more chain. Remember, for the second chain, you have to make it a little bit loose, so it will be easy working the stitch into the loop for the next row. Next, skip single crochet stitch, then make single crochet into the chain 1 space. Keep repeating this by chain 1, skip single crochet stitch, then make single crochet into the chain 1 space until you have 1 last single crochet stitch. Then I will meet you back again. And after you have 1 last single crochet stitch, then make single crochet into it. For the second row of the March stitch, you must end with 2 single crochet stitches. As you can see, we have 1 V-row between the March stitch. It is the right side of the cardigan or the right side of the stitch. Flip it and you can see the back side or the wrong side of the stitch. As you can see, it doesn't have the V-row like the front part. And for the next row, please keep repeating row 3, 4, 5, and 6. It means that you have to make 2 rows of the slip stitch back loop only and 2 rows of the March stitch until you reach row 133. Then we meet you back again. And this is what it looks like after you reach row 133. As you can see, for this stitches pattern, it's really stretching. And for this body panel, it's measuring around my bust. For you guys that make bigger size, you can add more rows by repeat rows 3, 4, 5, and 6 until it reach around your bust. And after you got your desired fit, next, I'm gonna show you how to make the buttonholes. So after you have made the first row of the March stitch, which is row 133, and next for the second row of the March stitch, which is row 134, we are going to make the buttonhole by chain 1, turn your work, then make 1 more chain, skip single crochet stitch and make single crochet into the chain 1 space, and then chain 3. After you got 3 chains, then skip 3 stitches by skip the single crochet stitch, chain space, and another single crochet stitch, then make single crochet into the 4th stitch, which is the chain 1 space. this is what the buttonhole looks like. You can try the button into the buttonhole to make sure that it's not too loose or too tight. And next, we are going to continue make the moss stitch by chain 1, skip single crochet stitch and make single crochet into the chain space until you got 5 single crochet stitches. Then we meet you back again. And after you got 5 single crochet stitches of the moss stitch, and next we are going to make the buttonhole again by chain 3, skip 3 stitches and make single crochet into the 4th stitch, which is the chain 1 space. Then make single crochet into the last stitch. So this is just a sample. When you're working on your cardigan, you have to continue repeat the same thing by make 5 single crochet of the moss stitch and then make the buttonhole until you got 5 buttonholes. As you can see for my cardigan, I start with single crochet stitch and then the buttonhole, then make 5 single crochet of the moss stitch and then make another buttonhole. Keep repeating until you got 5 buttonholes. And for the rest of the stitch, I'm gonna leave it there. And for you guys want to leave this bottom part longer or shorter, you have to adjust the measurement between each buttonholes, or you can make less buttonhole. And after you have made 2 rows of the moss stitch, then we are going to make 2 rows of the slip stitch back loop only. Start from row 135 until row 136, chain 1, turn your work, then make slip stitch back loop only into every stitch and into every chain until you reach the end of the row. Then I will meet you back again. And after you have made 2 rows of slip stitch back loop only, and this is what it looks like. And next, chain 1, cut off the yarn. And then we are going to make this slip stitch edge into the other side edge of the panel. Remember, we are going to start working on the right side of the stitch. To begin, attach the yarn into the corner stitch, which is the loop that we made single crochet stitch into it. Then for row 1, chain 1. For chain 1, we don't count as a stitch. And then make slip stitch into the same loop with chain 1. And then as you can see, this is the chain space or the chain 1 that we skipped. We are not going to make slip stitch into the back loop, but you have to insert the hook into the middle of the chain, as you can see. And then make slip stitch into the loop where we made single crochet stitch. And then keep repeating by make slip stitch into the middle of the chain. Keep making slip stitch into every stitch and into every chain until you reach the end of the row. Then we'll meet you back again. And after you reach the end of the row, and this is what it looks like. As you can see, we have the V-shaped row on the right side of the stitch. Next, for row 2, chain 1, turn your work. As you can see, we have the V part at the top here. But we are going to working the slip stitch into the front loop only. Remember, we are not going to working the stitch into this V loop or the V row here. You have to working the stitch into this big loop at the back of the V row. So it's difficult when you insert the hook like this. I have a tip for you. You just turn your hook and try to hook up the loop, yarn over and pull through all the loops. Keep repeating this into every stitch until the end of the row, then we'll meet you back again. And after you reach the end of the row, and this is what it looks like. So don't get confused by the color, it's just a sample showing you how to make in the stitch. So you just use the same color. And this is what it looks like on my cardigan. After you have made the buttonholes and the edge, next we are going to sewing the button into the other side's edge. And now we are done sewing the button into the cardigan. Next, we are going to make the sleeves. For the sleeves, I made 86 chains. It is equal 17.5 inches length. It measuring from my underarm until it reach my wrist. If you guys want your sleeve more longer, please add more chains. And after you got your desired fit, and then you just make 40 rows of the rib stitch, which is the moss stitch and the slip stitch row. For the width of my sleeves, it is equal 7 inches. It measuring around my arm. For you guys that make bigger size, you just add more rows until it reach around your arm. If you guys want to make the slim fit sleeves, you don't have to make it really fit around your arm. And after you have made the sleeves panel, and next we are going to attach this panel together by turn the sleeves wrong side out, which is the wrong side of the stitch, and then attach the yarn into the corner stitch. You just pick the front loop only. Then continue insert the hook into the other corner stitch. Yarn over and pull through both corner loop. And then chain 1. And we are going to make single crochet both sides together. To make single crochet both sides together, insert the hook into the front loop, then continue insert the hook into the other side loop. Yarn over and pull through both loops, and now you have 2 loops on your hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops. Keep repeating this into every stitch until the end of the row. Then I will meet you back again. And after you reach the end of the row, then chain 1 and cut off the yarn. And now we are done, and this is what the wrong side looks like. You can choose one side for your upper arm and then stretch it really hard to make it fit around your upper arm. And next, turn the sleeves right side out, and this is what the right side looks like. And this is what it looks like when I try it on my arm. Don't forget to repeat the same thing to the other side. And next, try the body panel on your body, and then use stitch marker to mark at the front part of your underarm, as you can see in this video, and use another stitch marker to mark at the back part of your underarm. And this is what it looks like. And next, count the number of the rows from the edge until it reaches your first stitch marker. So for me, I have 27 rows and mark at the 28th row. And you have to count the same number to the other side by count 27 rows and use stitch marker to mark at the 28th row. And next, count the number of the rows between both stitch marker by start counting from the first stitch marker until the second stitch marker. For me, I have 16 rows and mark at the 17th row. So for the other side, you have to count 16 rows from the first stitch marker, then use the second stitch marker to mark at the 17th row. And this is what it looks like. As you can see, for both sides are even. So I already attached for one side. And next, I'm gonna show you how to attach the sleeve to the other side. For both sides, we repeat the same thing. For the sleeves, we have to attach with the upper arm part, which is I told you to stretch it. Remember, for both sides, you have to turn it right side out before you attach it together. To begin, you can insert the hook into any stitch of the sleeves and then continue insert the hook into the stitch where we mark, which is the first stitch marker. Then attach the yarn into both sides. Chain 1, and we are going to make single crochet both sides together into every stitch until you reach the second stitch marker. Then I will meet you back again. And after you reach the second stitch marker, and this is what it looks like, and this is what the right side looks like. Then chain 1 and cut off the yarn. And now we are done. Attach the sleeves with the body panel, and this is what it looks like. And next, for the shoulder part, you have to make 42 chains. It is equal 8 inches. We made the width of the shoulder part a little bit longer because we have to fold it, and then make 169 rows of the rib stitch. It is equal 34 inches length. It's the length around my shoulder. As you can see, this is how you measuring it on your shoulder. You can see that for the shoulder part, after I fold it in half, it looks shorter. And for the other half, we have to make the buttonholes to button up the shoulder part together. And next, after you reach row 169, then continue from where your last stitch is. For row 170, you have to make 2 buttonholes by repeat the same thing like we did with the body panel. I made 2 single crochet after moss stitch, and then make the buttonhole, and then make 4 single crochet after moss stitch, and make the buttonhole again. And for the rest of the stitch, just make normal moss stitch. Then for 2 more rows, which is row 171 and row 172, you just make slip stitch back loop only. And after you make the buttonhole, for the other side edge, you have to make 2 rows of the slip stitch like we did with the body panel. And after you have made slip stitch for the edge of the shoulder part, next we are going to attach this shoulder part by turning it right side out and place the right side of the shoulder part on top of the right side of the body panel. For attaching the shoulder part with the cardigan, I'm using darning needle and yarn to sewing them together. Keep sewing both parts together around until you reach the end of the row. Then I will meet you back again. And this is what it looks like after you reach the end of the row. And this is what the inside of the cardigan should look like. And this is what the outside or the right side of the cardigan looks like. And next, don't forget to sewing the button into the shoulder part. And now we're almost done for this cardigan. You just button up your cardigan. Then I'm gonna show you how to weave in this corset or this small bow. You just make a long foundation chain enough. And now your off-shoulder cardigan is done. If you like this tutorial, please don't forget to click like and leave a positive comment down below. Subscribe to my channel and don't forget to follow me on my social medias. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.